Hey friends, it's Rafi, and today I'm playing a 25-minute game here on Lead Chess, and so far it's been a Queen's Gambit declined, playing against Amaze 25. Amaze 25. So here I play Knight C3. I believe I should play Bishop G5 here. The idea is to delay the knight f3 basically, because I want to put the knight possibly on e2 in these lines. So yeah, now that he has done that, I now play e3, now that I've gotten the bishop out of the pawn chain. And before I play bishop d3, now I take the pawn. Now I have to think about this position. Do I play h3 here to keep the bishop from developing itself? I think bishop d3 is probably ideal. Yeah, because if I play h3, he'll just play bishop f5, and it doesn't make any sense. So now he's forced to play bishop g4 if he wants to develop the bishop actively. Otherwise, he can put it on e6. Okay, so he doesn't really care about the bishop at all right now. And that's fine. He wants to play for maybe c5 or something like that. If he plays c5, this d pawn will become a weakness, and I'll play against the isolated d pawn. But right now I'm going to put my knight on e2, because if he ever pushes c5, I'll take, and I'll put the knight on f4 to pressure d4. Queen b3 will also hit d5. I meant to say pressure d5, by the way. I'll castle here, and I'll have a pretty solid position with the rooks here. Maybe start a minority attack. Maybe I'll put the rook actually on b1. I'll play a3, b4, b5, and start breaking and loosening this queen side up. So playing for the minority attack definitely is the plan on the queen side. On the king side, there's different things I could do. I could play f3, castles, bishop here, bishop f2, king h1, and then eventually try to play for e4. That's one idea in these type of structures. So this opening, that I've been practicing, I believe it's called this response against the Queen's Gambit decline. I think it's called the Carlsbad variation, and it's a very flexible way to play for white in the Queen's Gambit. A lot of flexibility. Yep. So just thinking about the position now. Yeah, probably black. Yeah, I was just gonna say he'll probably castle. That's the most natural thing to do here. And I think the most natural thing for me to do is probably also just castle here. So he goes ahead and starts his plan of challenging my bishop right away. So I think I'm going to go ahead and withdraw the bishop to h4 first. There's a possibility he could play a move like knight e4. And that's probably okay with me. This dark square bishop, it kind of does give black white some issues sometimes in these kind of structures. Like, it doesn't have that many good diagonals to work with. So I'm pretty fine with trading it off for the e7 bishop, because the e7 bishop is actually doing a lot. It's guarding all these squares like d6, c5, bishop here, b4. So I wouldn't mind trading these two pieces off. But I don't want to give up this bishop for this knight, though, unless I have to. So if he tries to go for something like g5, bishop g3, he'll have to do all this to get my bishop, and he will have made a lot of kingside weaknesses. So I'm going to make him do all that if I'm going to go ahead and give up my bishop for the knight. I want to get something out of it. Yeah, so he goes for that idea of trading. I guess there's not a whole lot of choice. I certainly don't think I want to play bishop g3 and let him take my bishop. So let's go ahead and trade these guys off. Do I want to challenge his knight on e4 by playing knight g3 at this point? Or do I start my queenside attack? Do I get that going? I kind of want to get the queenside attack rolling. I kind of need this knight to support this knight on c3. I'm thinking maybe rook b1 with b4 to come. But I wonder if rook b1, he plays a5. Then what? I guess I have the option of playing a4 in that case. Yeah, let's go for the queenside approach of the minority attack. So the idea here is to play b4 and d5 and just try to start breaking down the c5 pawn and creating a weakness. So ideally what I want to do is basically either make the c pawn capture the b pawn, or I would like to, oh, he starts a kingside pawn storm. That is interesting. So the good thing here is that I always have the option of playing f3 if I want to kick his knight off that e4 square. So I would like to reserve the option of playing f3 if needed. And this f5 also, to some extent, does weaken his king a little bit, especially if he's going to follow this up with g5 and really go for a kingside attack. I think that he definitely will find himself in some kingside troubles later on in the game. So let's go ahead and pursue our queenside ventures here. I think I'll play a4 next. Yeah, the thing is that his bishop on light square and the light square bishop on c8 is still, I mean, it's a really bad piece. And the good thing is that he doesn't have any good ways to get this piece into the game. That is one of the key advantages of this opening for white. The way that, at least the way that he played it, is he never played the bishop g4 move. So as a result of that, I am, in some ways playing up a piece right now. Bishop on c8 has been at home for a long time. I might just play b5 here. Actually, I just realized if he takes on b5, I can. That means that the d5 pawn will have become isolated, and that's a target for me at that point. So like rook b5, queen b3, all that kind of stuff will target the d5 pawn. Okay, so he starts swinging his knights over to the king side. Maybe he'll go for knight g4 and queen h4, trying to checkmate me. And maybe hitting on f2 also. I don't know. I don't want to make any pawn moves on the side of the board where I'm weaker. I think it's better for me to make moves on this side of the board and just continue with b5 here. So he goes ahead and trades on c3. That's okay. I'll take. He drops the other knight in. Interesting. Trying to think of the best way to proceed from here. I don't necessarily want to play queen c2 because after an exchange happens on b5, he might very quickly be able to bring a rook to the c file. Queen b3 fails to knight d2, a fork. Taking the knight leads to him really opening up and attacking me on this side of the board, so I'm certainly not going to do that. Queen e1 is interesting to consider, but I feel like that just gets in the way of the rook. Other things to consider is to move the knight maybe to e2. But I just almost feel like that move is, I don't know, somewhat passive. Don't want to do that. I really would love to get my knight into e5 though. Knight e2, knight here, bishop d3, then knight here is one option. There is an idea of exchanging the bishop for the knight and then working to get my knight to e5. There's also an idea of exchanging knights and then working to get my knight into c5. But it can't stay there long term because he can play b6. So that's another issue there. I don't know. I think c2, queen c2 is what I'm going to go with for now. Seems like follows principles. Develops the queen, connects the rooks, and if black allows me to take on c6, then queen will start to put some pressure on the c6 pawn. Yep, we'll see.
This is why I get upset. You tell me that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the position, and I don't know. Things are tricky. I feel like bishop d7 should probably be given a try here. Just accepting a rather passive role, but I feel like after bishop d7, say I take on c6, b takes c6, he can always swing his rook over to b8 and start challenging me on the b file. And yeah, his bishop on d7 will be a pretty passive piece, but who knows? It may have some merit. But also, here's the interesting thing. If he's going to let me take on c6 and then b takes c6, he needs to exchange off my knight on c3, I think. Because otherwise, I can take on e4, I believe, and have a situation where I have the strong knight versus the bad bishop. It's possible. But I almost feel like in this case, his bishop may not actually be that bad once he takes with the f pawn. His bishop's diagonal will suddenly have opened up, and I don't know. I just feel like that will give him a lot of play, especially with his pawn taking away the f3 square. He might start a kingside pawn storm at me. But it's pretty obvious, starting to become very obvious now, that the play is going to revolve around, me attacking him on the queen side and him launching a kingside attack. I think that has become obvious here. So he goes ahead and exchanges off the knights, which is interesting. But I feel like I don't know. Maybe he's planning on playing. Oh, he takes again. Maybe he was planning on playing f4 and trying to loosen me up on the e3 square. I don't know what the plan there was, really. Yeah, I'm really not sure at this point what his thoughts are here. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take with the rook. My idea is that if he ever plays f4, he's gonna open up my bishop, and I can take here anyway. So I don't know how much that really gives him. And now the d5 pawn is gonna become a target. I'm really liking my position right now. I think I have some good play to go, to work with here. I'm gonna probably put my rook on c5 and then penetrate into c7 and play that way, and put the other rook on c1. So almost like an Alekhine's gun, except that I have the queen in between the two rooks. I don't know. I may actually slide the queen over to the b3 square potentially, and reroute my bishop from d3 to f3 to continue to pressure the d5 pawn, which is one of my main targets. And then b7 is going to be my next target. Yeah, see here, I almost feel like I need to go for b7 right away, but he's going to play b6, so I better. This is interesting. So if I play rook c5, he plays rook c8 now. And I can play rook c1, but then we just trade everything off, and I don't get anything out of that. Let's do a step-by-step type of thing here. Let's go ahead and reroute our bishop first. I don't want to give him the c file. I think I need to play rook c1. I don't want him to take over the c file completely. That's just certainly not going to be good. Oh, there was an interesting idea here. I could have played queen c5. Oh, man. That would have been interesting. My goal is just basically straight to some sort of an endgame. Oh, so he goes ahead and does this right away. That is fascinating. I could play e4, but I don't think that gives me much. It does give me a passed pawn, a central one. But after e4, I feel like he just plays f3. And then I am actually in some trouble. I think I need to snap this pawn off. e4, f3, g3, bishop g2 is not looking good at all. Well, I don't know. e4, f3 doesn't really work, actually. e4, f3, g3, then he takes, I take. Queen f7 or something, I don't know, queen g5 maybe. Because the idea is he's just going to checkmate me over here. Actually, after e4, after he takes, he can also actually, he attacks this too. This is a tricky situation for me. I like this idea. I like the idea of just trading here and then playing rook c5 and really trying to go for the c file again. Okay, now let's try to take over the c file. So the first move is going to be rook here. Maybe he'll play rook f8, but or he'll play rook f. No, that doesn't really. Well, maybe that does work. Rook f7, rook c7, queen takes. Oh, he's trying to go for this and this. Ah, man, that's interesting now. It's starting to get some craziness is starting to happen now. Check, bishop takes. Nope, there's nothing there. d4 is a major weakness now. I may actually be worse now, honestly, because I can't protect d4 whereas he can protect d5 with his bishop. And this is a bad position for me right now, honestly. It's really bad. Because I'm just losing the d4 pawn now. There's just no way to protect it. Unless I play rook d1, but oh, then f2 drops. Never mind. What about queen d2? No, that doesn't work either. Man, just like that, the game is actually worse for me. Could I perhaps let him take on f2? No, that's too risky. Am I really just going down a pawn right now? It's hard to believe that I'd have no way to defend this situation. That's crazy. I think queen e1 is probably an active way to play this position, but then there's rook e8. Nah, this is not working very well. There's also queen takes d4, well, rook takes d4. It's either queen b2 or queen e1. I'm trying to think of which is the more active way to play this. Queen b2, queen takes d4. Queen takes, rook takes. Queen e1, queen takes d4, bishop moves. Probably queen e1 because I don't want to go into a queen trade being down a pawn. Now he cannot take with the queen because the bishop hangs. He has to do rook takes d4. And I'm just banking on the fact that I have control over the c file, and I would love to play queen or rook c7 right away, as fast as possible. But this d4 is gone for sure. There's a miscalculation on my part. When I took on f4, I really should have paid more attention to the fact that d4 will become a weakness, and I just didn't imagine he would so easily be able to capitalize on it. Honestly, really did not. Was not ready for that. So now he's causing even more problems on f2. Man. I want to keep my pieces active, so I'm going to use the c1, the one rook on the first rank to the c2 square. But this is still a lot of problem for me. I mean, after this move, yeah, it's still really bad. This is really bad. His blitz rating is 1573. Wow. How could you be 1500 and play this well in classical? I don't understand some of these things. I think I'm going to move the bishop here. I want to reroute this bishop to b3. Yeah, this is tough. Tough game. He's playing extremely well. He started playing extremely well ever since he played f4. I feel like until then his play was pretty substandard. But as soon as he hit f4, I mean, he's been playing almost perfect chess after that. Maybe rook e2. Rook c1. Rook e2, there's rook here. No, that doesn't work. Then I can take here. Well, no. No, yeah, that's fine. Rook e2, rook e4. I can take on d4. He takes. I take. If check, then I can always bring my queen back to f1. I have to be careful not to play bishop a4 by accident. Rook takes. Those are the kind of blunders that I often make in blitz when the time starts running down. So I need to be very, very cautious here as the time clock starts ticking down. I would love to go to the 7th rank, but there's nothing to attack there anymore now. There's a b7 pawn, but that's pretty much it. I guess going to rook c7 is still a good idea because, it's kind of tricky to protect this guy. If rook f7, then I have... actually, I don't have a check up here because the bishop... Maybe I can trade queen takes. Ooh, that's an interesting move. Wow. That is a really interesting move, actually. Here... If I take, I don't know. I feel like I'm going into a lost endgame of some type. But I don't think I have much of a choice here. Rook c7, rook f7. I feel like I pretty much have to play this rook here now if I want any sort of activity out of this position. I need to play as actively as possible. That's pretty much the only way that I can All right, so now I've got some interesting stuff. I can check with either rook. Let's check with this one. My idea is to play this this queen here to pin this rook. Ooh, there's an interesting idea now to play rook e8. If I pin this rook, he plays queen g6, then rook h8 wins the queen. Well, it doesn't win the queen. What am I saying? If rook e8, then there's rook d1. Check. King g6. If I take on d1, queen check. King moves. Check again. Takes, and that's mate. Oof. This forces him to play queen somewhere. Oh no, queen f5 hits the rook on c8. Oh goodness. That's not good. Queen f5, yep. That's it. That is the move. I've got to play f3. This f2 pawn has become way too much of a burden for me. Let's get f3 in. If he moves f7 rook somewhere, then I have rook d2, pinning the rook to the queen. I also have rook e4 now, blocking the coordination between the queen and rook. That's quite a move. Takes. Rook here. King. Pawn. I think I've got to trade off the queens now. It's just way too much. Pressure. Hopefully I can win this pawn. With my help of my king. Maybe. I want to draw this pawn, walk this pawn up, I'll make him walk the pawn all the way up, and then I'm going to try to win it. But he'll probably end up winning my a2 pawn, though. That's the problem. I'll offer him a draw, see if he takes it by chance, because I'm higher rated. He probably won't, yeah. Figured he probably wouldn't. Let's take a draw here. So now the idea is king f2, king e3. And just winning the pawn. But see, rook c2 here is also annoying now because he can just take and... Rook c2 here, I feel like is the most challenging move for me. If he plays rook d5, then I have king f2. Then if rook c2, then king e3. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I don't have a choice. I gotta go for this line. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's pretty lost. It's pretty lost. He's got two connected pass pawns. It's pretty much over. Yep. There was no... Ran out of time, but it's lost. Massively lost. This guy played extremely well. I am curious to see why is his blitz rating 1573. Because you have a lot of computer users in these sites. Classical 2041. Rapid 2114. Blitz is 1573. I don't know. Anyway, let's analyze. All this is probably fine. yeah, all this is just normal developing moves and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna go too much into this. So trading here, and I think yeah, this idea of rook b1, I think. I feel like it seemed like a nice idea to go for the minority attack here, but I don't know. T2 here, takes, and yeah, like the computer agrees with me. I'm better here. He's got weaknesses. D5, major weakness. Plays this. Maybe this is where I started to go wrong here. So I played rook c1 because I was so focused on taking over this c file. But perhaps my focus should not have been so much on the c file. Like thinks about g3 also to try to stop this f4 idea. Or queen d2, same thing, stops f4. Play this, and I think now he gets a lot of play after f4. Okay, so the right idea was to take this. He takes. And now queen e1 was interesting. I should have considered that more. Or rook e1, interesting also, yeah, for sure. I played this move, and rook c5 looks nice. It triples up on the c file, but really, I don't have any points of attack on the c file, really. Even on c7, there's not really a whole lot to attack, whereas he has a direct attack on f2. So I sort of underestimated the power of this idea of him going after f2. So here I played queen e1. And he plays extremely accurately here. I feel like he played rook to f8 here. So I played rook 1 to c2. What's the idea of queen e3? What if he takes on f2? Okay, I'm confused here. Queen e3, and he plays this, then so it's just a sacrifice for no good reason. Oh, well, he gets the b7 pawn, I see. I didn't think about giving up the f2 pawn to go after the b7. So I played the more passive move. F5, bishop f5, rook e2 was a mistake. That big of a mistake? Oh man, because there's a little fork, which he missed. So now there's some interesting things. Rook f7, king f7, h3. I'm not sure why I didn't consider trading off. Because I wasn't sure what that would lead to. I mean, I don't know. I almost felt like I had some tactics here after this stuff here. Yeah, I think this move loses now. Did this move right here. I can't take because there's checkmate here. Takes, then queen f1 and checkmate. F5. Man, I don't know why I was so worried about this rook. If he takes that, I can take here with check. I didn't really think about that. This f3 is really not, the computer is not liking this at all. Interesting. I'm going to play h3 instead. He played so accurately these last few moves. It was just crazy. Felt like I was great playing Grandmaster. Wow. 4 inaccuracies, no mistakes, 1 blunder. 34 average centi-pawn loss. I had 6 inaccuracies, 2 mistakes, and 1 blunder. 46 average centi-pawn loss. Overall, not the best game by any means. Definitely was some interesting middle game positional struggles there, but I think I played a lot of inaccurate moves. Miscalculated a lot. But yeah, overall, it's okay. Didn't make any absolute major blunders of any type that I can think of, but I mean, there's some moves that are very questionable that I played. But he just played well. He played extremely well. So anyway, that's it for this video. I'll catch you guys in my next one.